Hey YouTube. So I watched this video the other day. It got recommended to me in my feed thingy, and it was a video. I think it was called Quran Talk or something like that. But it was basically about how the Quran like kind of came out of nowhere, right? And I thought it was pretty good for the most part because one thing that he was, or well, it was like a AI woman's voice, but one thing that this video brought up was like this idea that like, hey, you know what? How do you explain this thing when it kind of came out of nowhere? Like, there's no like one. It addressed a couple things that I haven't heard people talk about a lot, which are really, really big deals. Like, for example, this idea that the Quran is like from some previous tradition of Arabic poetry is a lie, because the entire tradition of Arabic poetry actually is based on the Quran. So it's actually that's a big thing to say, and that's true. That is true. I mean, provably. And what it basically posed the idea is like, hey, what if you found this a huge building like a pyramid or something, but there is no evidence of it even being built. Like, it's just there. Like, it was just, bam, it's just there. And that part of the video I thought was really good, because that is something I have actually said to people a lot, where I'm just like, hey, look, this book defies explanation, right? But there were a couple of things that were put in there that I found interesting, because as much as it was questioning a lot of stuff, it also was leaning heavily on many assumptions that I find to be quite common. These assumptions, I mean, they're actually pretty much inescapable when you're talking about the Quran. And that is actually what I wanted to make the video about today. So, these assumptions, right? Even if you can get someone to admit or to, be open to the idea that, number one, like, the Quran is a message from Allah. It's not even written by, a man. You still kind of have this assumption, right, that, like, this narrative of Islamic history is basically true. And the part of that I'm really talking about in this case, not so much the things that come after, but like just literally the story of the Prophet Muhammad writing this Quran, like him being the one who writes it down. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true, but I'm saying it is a bit of an assumption, isn't it? And it's a very common assumption, like, hey, well, then this guy, you talk to people about this, and you're like, well, why is this book so crazy? Because it claims to be from the creator, and it's, like, doesn't make any sense how we got it. We don't even know where it came from. And that's, so it's like the guy kind of touches on that in this video, but then he kind of goes back to this idea that, like, well, this is still from 7th century Arabia. What is it, though? Like, are you sure? Because that's an assumption, in my opinion. Like, the entire reason the Quran is, like, worthy of study and worthy of, awe is because it just doesn't make it doesn't make any sense, like, how it got here. We have no idea. And I like to say this because it kind of like grabs people's attention, but it's kind of true. It's like, it's actually from the future, if you think about it, because the Quran is written from the perspective of the 7th day, the end of like all this stuff, right? That's stuff that hasn't happened yet. That's the future, right? So it's like, even if it is written in past tense, it's written because it already happened from the viewpoint of when it is being narrated, which is the future. So that is already pretty insane. Hold on. Yeah, so like the assumption that this book is like, even from the Middle East, really is, I think, something that needs to be like done away with, because it's like, okay, yeah, it's in Arabic, but the thing is like, it really wasn't that long ago at all that like Arabic is just literally covering the entire world. Like, I mean, and then even just in most places, like only like a couple hundred years ago, even though they're speaking different languages, they're still using the Arabic alphabet, like everywhere. And that has to do with this whole rewriting of history thing that people call Tartaria, but you can't get through to these people by saying, like, you mention anything, all these Tartaria people, it's like, they're all obsessed with, like, this very vague idea of, the Bible, like, kind of being true, but, like, still being a lie, but, like, well, it's a lie, like, it's definitely, messed with, but we're going to look to that for truth. But you mention the Quran to them, and they just ridicule you, because it's just unthinkable to them at all. And it's so funny, because those people are all about questioning the assumptions surrounding history. But you bring up that, and it's like they know exactly what it is. They're, oh no, that's just a copy. That's from this guy. That's just a, it's just a copy paste of the Bible. That's very weird that you have these people that their whole thing is about questioning these assumptions, and they already, like, they have even more assumptions about the Quran. So yeah, the main ones that I want to address is, like, number one, the idea that this Quran even comes from the Middle East at all, much less the 7th century. And I'm not going to really just, I'm not trying to sit here and prove to you, like, hey, here's where it comes from, because the whole idea is, like, I don't fucking know. We don't know. It takes a lot of courage to say we don't know. This is like what flat earth stuff is all about. It's not about saying, like, oh, the earth is actually flat. It's more about saying, like, hey, you know what, maybe we don't actually know that much, right? So the idea I want to pose is the idea that, like, hey, maybe we don't actually know where this Quran comes from, but, like, I think it needs to be questioned that we're assuming that it comes from the Middle East. That's the first one. The second one, I mean, the most common one, and this is like something I've talked about, I mean, probably a million times on my channel, is the assumption that the Quran comes from the same tradition as the Judeo-biblical tradition. That's a really big one, because that's provably false. Like, that's not one we have to be like, oh, I don't know, maybe. No, it's provably false, okay? And I don't know how many videos I've done on this, but if you can't get past that, then I don't know, maybe this channel is not for you, Maybe the Quran is, like, not for you if you can't figure that out. So one of the biggest assumptions that goes along with that is the assumption that the Quran comes after the Bible. That is, I find it really interesting that I talk to people about this stuff a lot, and many of them, the most open-minded people who, let's say, they aren't heavily indoctrinated with any kind of, whatever, they actually will ask me, they're like, wait, so the Quran came before the Bible, right? All the time. And even a guy yesterday, this guy was he's a smart dude, like, he's a very intelligent, like, programmer type guy, and he even is like, yeah, I think, like, he's warmed up to that idea already, and he's not like a history denialist, but it's like, that assumption is exceptionally huge hindrance to getting anything out of this book. So the first assumption, again, the idea that this book comes from the Middle East, that needs to be challenged. The assumption that this has anything to do with the Bible at all needs to be challenged, but the assumption primarily that it comes after the Bible, I think that really needs to be challenged, because the Bible is like not that old at all. So those are the main two right there. And then the third one, I think, is just this assumption that it has to do with the past. That's a big one, because again, if the Quran is from the future or dealing with the future, because the thing is, like, the past is going to repeat again. So things that have happened before are going to happen again. And so yeah, the assumption, the third assumption that I think really needs to be challenged is the assumption that the Quran is stuck in the past. That's a big one, because that's a big one. So those are the three things I wanted to talk about mostly, because it just comes up all the time, and it's just like, if you didn't know anything and you were given this book and you had no context around it whatsoever, just zero context, you're just like, hey, whoa, here's this book, it's saying it's from the Creator, and if you're reading it without all of these, like if you're reading even a translation that doesn't have all of this context stuck to it, where it's like, oh, this is when he was in the cave and Jabril brought him this thing, blah blah blah. It's like, I think the reason we need to challenge the idea that even like this historical person named Prophet Muhammad wrote the Quran is because, number one, it doesn't claim to be written. It's not even narrated in that format at all. It's not divinely inspired. That is not what it claims. That's another assumption. There's number 4, is that it's just divinely inspired. They have a word for that, God breathed or something like that, theonym something, but that is an assumption, big time. It doesn't say that at all. It just says it's from the Creator. Is that actually that? It's crazy, because it's like, really, if you just look at it, it's just very straightforward in its claims. It's like, hey, this is a book from the Creator. Oh, well, that just means like it's just like the Bible, right? Where it's just kind of like divinely inspired, and it just kind of was, we wrote it. This guy wrote it down based on a voice he heard in his head. No, that's not what it says. It just says it's from the Creator. That's miraculous. That would make it miraculous, right? Yeah, like, just, I encourage people, do not fall into these reductive kind of traps of thinking where it's just like, oh, well, I have this explanation that I was given, and like, why shouldn't I just go with that? Just go. I'm just trying to tell you, like, here's how you get something out of this book. Believe what it says. Like, just listen. There's many other assumptions that go along with this Quran. These are the biggest ones, so I'll talk about some lesser ones, like, because I've talked about them a million times. There's a huge assumption that, like, there's multiple Qurans. That one's stupid. I've already talked about that a million times. Going along with the multiple Qurans thing is the idea that there's a skeleton text with no vowels or even no diacritics. That's fucking retarded. You're stupid as fuck if you believe that. And yeah, this is just these are things that go along with the Sunni tradition. And again, if you're not familiar, this is not a Sunni channel. I'm not a Sunni. I don't belong to any sect of Islam. I just believe the Quran. Okay. And the thing is, like, with this hadith stuff, it's easier for me to just say, hey, just forget it. But really, we've been kind of studying this stuff and realizing, like, when you look at it the other way, when you look at it like completely backwards, like, no, this doesn't give frame of reference for the Quran gives frame of reference for these hadith, then you actually start to see things like totally different, right? So it's not that these hadiths are not ever I don't care if you're Sunni or not. If you want to, I have these interactions like daily. If you want to sit here and tell me, you want to put these narrations from like Persian Jews on the same footing as what you believe is the word of the Creator, which I question if you really believe that. Most of the time I question people actually believe that, because they still follow these same assumptions. Because let's be honest, right? These are two different things. To say this is the word of the Creator and, well, this is actually written by this guy. The more we've been looking into this stuff, I mean, I'm not sure that there is a prophet Muhammad, as in that's his name. There's a Nabi Ahmad, and that is a big thing. The fact that that is actually his name, that kind of changes everything, because Muhammad is like a title. And again, I don't care if Sunnis want to get offended. Like, you can just go, fuck a goat. I don't care. Like, literally, just leave me the fuck alone. Don't ever talk to me. I mean, I know I sound very mean, but I have had more interactions with these people than I care to, and I just do not care. It's not my job to guide you. I'm trying to reach open-minded people who really actually care about the idea that the Creator actually gave us a kitab, because he's actually not a tyrant, and he actually like wants it's the whole thing is like, it's a test. Can you actually believe that? Do you actually believe by the unseen? Do you actually, do you confide in, the idea that, like, is it that hard for you to believe that the Creator can do anything? And I mean anything. What's if you're saying like, oh, Allah is all powerful, but he had to give the book to a person, does he have to? No, because he can just literally, like, the idea of the Quran is like, it's just here, bam, it's just there. That's what this guy in this video is talking about. It's like, hey, look, it's just here. We don't even know why it's here. We don't know how it got here. We don't know where it came from. Literally, it just like came out of fucking nowhere. There's no explanation for it. It's crazy. Is that outside of the capabilities of literally the Creator of everything? Is it even hard for, like, is it that hard for the Creator to just be like, it's here, there it is? It's just bam, there it is. Here you go. Here it is. Here's your guidance. Bam, just there. That is not hard for Allah to do. And again, if you're going to say you believe the Creator gave us this, then why wouldn't it have everything in it? Everything. It's not stuck in the past. It's not from the Middle East. It's not stuck in the past. It's not from a Judeo-biblical tradition. It's not written by a person. And it's, just, those are the assumptions I want people to challenge. Well, actually, I don't even care if you challenge. I'm just saying those are the assumptions that I challenge. I don't give a shit what you believe, dude. Honestly, like, if you're on my channel and you are already tipped off to what's going on, great, man. Awesome. May Allah guide you. If you're not, it's not my problem, And if you're a Sunni, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, I just hate all Sunnis. I don't want to be that person. But what bugs me are the people who try to change my mind. When it's like, I'm not trying to change your mind. I don't care. Like, I really don't. And you're not going to convince me that, you're not going to convince me the skibbity toilet religion, dude. Like, I just do not, I don't want to hear it. Any more than I want to hear someone try to convert me back to Christianity. It's not going to happen. So, anyway, that's the video. Hope everybody's doing well. Salam.